Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports, Saturday sports program, our weekly weekend program. We have quite a bit to talk about today. It's an open discussion, but some particular issues we want to discuss. It has to do with netball, a decision by the Grenada Netball Association to withdraw from the defense of its OECS Senior Netball title, and it appears it's not going down well with members of the public, but I should say some members of the public, and even some netballers themselves who are not too happy by that decision, bearing in mind that, you know, they believe that despite the circumstances, that at least Grenada should be represented, and some do not buy the fact that a tournament that is sponsored and whereas you have to come up with some of the costs, okay, that the association is claiming that it will cost them in excess of $90,000 to participate in the tournament. Well, we tried to get some reaction from, I shouldn't, direct reaction from the Netball Association, but we were directed to a statement they issued on social media. We'll talk about that in a while. We look at West Indies cricket and the regional championships. I think a lot of folks not aware that the regional championship is taking place, and our boys on the Windward Islands team are doing pretty much well. And then only this morning, you may have seen. If not, then just let me know. Circulating a video of Andre Fletcher's 101 not out for the Kulina Tigers in the Bangladesh Premier League. What that was a scintillating innings by Andre Fletcher. If you have not seen it, you should look at it. Not just it's probably the highlights now you will see, but it was a masterful innings by Andre Fletcher, Canadian Andre Fletcher. He was 101 not out for the Kulina Tigers, and they actually won the game by 9 wickets. So, congratulations to Andre Fletcher. Hopefully, we will see if we can link up with Andre Fletcher. Then we will try to talk a bit on the. We wanted to talk about Justin Gatlin's retirement from international athletics. I hope you came across that. Yes, Andre, Justin Gatlin has finally retired. We'll talk about that. And then there's also the issue of our athletes participating in indoor championships. We'll hear a few about that as well. Yeah. So quite a bit to talk about. Right. So we'll try to see what we can do and discuss. My partner in crime, Rudy and Silvan, will join me live from Toronto, Canada, where we will discuss also those issues that relates to what's happening with our athletics and some of the issues on the national front. So, as I indicated, it's quite a bit to talk about, and we hope to get your input as well as to what you believe. This. But we have been hearing from folks about the current state of, of sports in Grenada, in the Caribbean. But what do you think about the current state of sports? What is your feeling? You have been hearing from some of the sporting officials, but that's their view. But I'm certain, as the members of the public, you too have your own views about the state of sports. And in some instances, well, whether or not you think we are heading in the right direction is all up to you, and we'll hear about that as well. So it's an opportunity for you to, I don't want to use the word vent because some people take it, a bit too far. So it's to express, yes, that might be a better one, to express your views on how you think sports is going. as well. So, as indicated, we'll also hear from Mr. Phil Simmons, who the coach of the West Indies team. That was after the final match in the one-day series against India. Well, West Indies lost it 3-0. So we'll hear about him as well. We'll hear from him as well about that, and as well something to do with the high performance training academy. Some years ago we had the Shell Academy in Grenada, and then it was dismantled. Then there was a high performance training center that was also dismantled. Whether or not that is really affecting the development of our young players, and it came up in a discussion um, on Friday, and the coach was also asked about his feelings about it, and you'll hear what he has to say about it as well. So, as indicated, we have lots to talk about, and as soon as Rudian will join us in a moment, and we'll be discussing all these issues as well. I wanted to say, belated birthday greetings to Mr. Ashley Ramforth, who has been on our program a couple of times in 2021, and it was his birthday yesterday. And Mr. Fox, who was always willing to be on the program, and when he comes, he basically he says it as it is, and certainly we will have Mr. Fox sometime in the very near future talking about, what he thinks. Well, he's out of administration of sports, but he's still somehow dear to sports, especially football. So he may say that, but then, you'll still see him around. You'll still see him around. Yeah. So we'll be talking to Mr. Folk sometime in the future. Right. So as I indicated, the Netball Association issued a statement as regards to the withdrawal from, well, I shouldn't say withdrawal because it's non-participation. I don't think they have actually entered, even though at the end of the statement, they indicated an apology for the late circulation of the statement. So, you know, whether or not it was a decision taken by the Grenada Netball Association in advance, but then just decided to issue it at the last moment. Well, that again is something to be determined. But, it appears it did not go down pretty well with a lot of the folks, and, we will see what comes out of that. Well, in fact, the former president or the immediate past president of the Grenada Netball Association, in an interview sometime last year, just after after the new executive was installed, um, she expressed concern, but at the same time, hope that the new executive will continue the works of the previous executive in terms of participation, in terms of development programs, etc., etc. And we'll hear a bit from Sister Gladys Roberts about that. Well, let me welcome in Mr. Rudian Silva, who apparently may be on the road today. Yeah,
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm
I
fine.
actually thought I was going to make it back in time, but
Well,
I did walk with my tools, so
okay.
I'm prepared.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. But um,
Yeah,
there may be the time where you could always um, transition from
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
mobile from the mobile to
The
the
mobile
mobile.
to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's good. So how things in your area?
it is well. See a lot of snow on the ground still, but things are looking good. We coming to a point where they're saying we got to start living with COVID, so we don't
Yeah.
have a. That's what it's coming to, and dealing with a lot of is blockage and a lot of protests happening in this side of the world because of the mandate of the vaccine. Kind of make
Mhm,
things a little difficult for employees and food
mhm,
coming into the country and so forth. So it's well, right now Ontario, where I live in, is in a state of emergency. as of yesterday, the premier declare a state of emergency, and when that happens, it's big. It's not a little. It's not a little thing.
Yeah,
So
I
hopefully
was
things will be
wondering I
better.
was
Yeah,
wondering myself because I know that the issue with that ambassador bridge between I think was
Detroit
Detroit,
and Windsor.
yeah,
Yeah, Detroit and
and
Windsor.
Windsor,
Yeah,
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 and it's
because
so
it was
it's
allowing
ha-
no vehicles to come in. Yeah,
so it's really
and I
having
think, oh yeah, it's having a
it,
big a big effect. Yeah,
yeah, because
right now in 1 week,
mhm.
it's 51 about 51 or 52 million dollars of wages lost
Wow.
in a week because
Uh-huh.
people cannot get to work because of that.
Mhm.
So
Well,
it's
mhm. Yeah, well, that's sad. That it has
yeah,
the
it is,
economic
it
impact.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So as I indicated, we'll be talking a bit on the issue of
quite a bit. Yeah,
the netball. Yeah,
yeah,
netball. We talk about
yeah,
Justin Gatlin's retirement. I know that would be big in your your area.
yeah.
Of course, we'll have a little of West Indies cricket, and in and between, we'll be talking about other things. But I just want to um, read a statement or the participation in the ECCB OECS Senior Netball Tournament as issued by the Grenada Netball Association a few days ago. They stated that the second ECCB OECS Senior Netball Tournament is scheduled for February 18th to the 22nd, 2022 in Dominica. The executive gave full consideration to participation in the tournament. It also states that a budget was prepared which amounted to over $90,000. That's Eastern Caribbean dollars. The executive gave consideration to the following, and it states one, well, in that order. Given the status of the COVID 19 virus, whether Grenada was in a position to manage and care for any player official who may become infected, the severe financial constraint of the association, and whether the estimated budget was attainable, the inability to identify a coach, and the lack of adequate fitness and performance levels required for participation. The general protocol for the tournament regarding the COVID-19 tournament organizers mandated that all officials players be fully vaccinated to participate, or any country which with unvaccinated players or officials will have to meet the full cost of quarantine and comply with the prescribed protocols and even additional costs. And it also states that after several discussions and given all of the issues regarding COVID 19, the executive decided that Grenada was not able to adequately prepare a team with the requisite fitness and performance levels to successfully defend our winning title. The executive wishes to sincerely apologize for the delay in the circulation of this message, as issued by the Grenada Netball Association in regards its non-participation and defense of its title in the ECCB OECS Netball Tournament scheduled for Dominica in the coming days. Now, I just want to say some things here, Rudian, and then you may, because I want to go through some of the issues as raised by the Grenada Netball Association regarding one, a budget over $90,000. Well, I don't know if the budget has to do with, and they're not explained in context. You see, when you do those things, you put in context things so that people may have an understanding. So whether it deals with the preparation of the team from when to there, preparation, participation, etc., etc. Okay, so that's one. There's no clarity on that. It appears that some people are using COVID-19 as an excuse these days. And it's a sad situation. As you said, we have to live with COVID-19. And if COVID-19 is around, it means, therefore, that you will not be participating in any sporting events probably for the next 4 or 5 years. COVID-19 is here and it will be with us. And we have to find means and ways of how we can, work around things. Sports happening all over. I'm looking on another monitor at the Western Relays taking place in Jamaica. you know, um, and I am wondering what is different to Grenada than probably St. Vincent and Dominica and Antigua and others who are participating, even Barbados as you know, as an outside team, invitational team. So what is different? The severe financial constraint of the association. Which association in Grenada is not under severe financial constraint? I mean, I don't know which one. I mean, I think all, even the Grenada Football Association, who is fathered by FIFA, still has challenges as regards to financial constraint. In fact, I think this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, women's team will be leaving Grenada to participate in a tournament in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
So some associations are, and they know what they have to do. They have a fixture, they have a schedule, and they're preparing accordingly. And I'm just making these points because I want you to come in, and then we'll get some other comments. The other one, the general protocol for the tournament regarding COVID-19 tournament. I read it in its entirety there, but when I read it the first time, I just brushed over it because I'm seeing that every day. Whether it's a sporting event, whether as a tourist, whether as a business meeting, there are protocols involved. And if your players, like the Grenada Football Association, issued a statement sometime last year stating that players and officials who are interested in selection or vying for selection on national teams must be vaccinated. Some people took it for what it was. Some people argued about it. But the fact is that is what we're living with now, and that if you want to be selected, the protocol now is that you have to be vaccinated. So if you're not vaccinated, it means that it's an option to you. Go on to the next player. Are you telling me that there's only X amount of players, and if they are not vaccinated, that there are no other alternatives? Come on, a lot of things there, and blah 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 blah. I said enough for now. Rudian, over to you.
I've read the exact same article that came out, and I was disappointed, not necessarily in the Ministry of, not the Netball Association, but more in the Ministry of Sports, because it's under one banner. Netball fall under the Ministry of Sports. You are having a statement out at this time, a week or 10 days before the tournament happened. And the concerns you're using is poor excuse, in my opinion. And if that's the case, that should have been done maybe 2 months ago. You put it in when I read everything, I'm hearing excuses. That's how I read it. There is no clarity in what is going on. And if one sport is benefiting, why the other can be doing the same? Like you said, soccer is leaving. So why soccer is benefiting but not netball? And they all fall under the Ministry of Sports, not FIFA, not any other thing, the Ministry of Sports. So there is a failure there, and it's a disappointment. And I don't understand why we're making excuses for COVID. The Olympics is going on right now. They have players, they have athletes who have test positive, who've been into quarantine. They never explained the money, not over $90,000 for what? For hotel, for transportation, for what is the breakdown? Or you're having money in case someone have to be in quarantine longer? Like, what is the breakdown? So when you don't have the breakdown, it put us in a position as outsiders to ask the question, what is going on? It is unfair to the athletes. It is unfair to the country, and why other countries is benefiting but Grenada cannot. And then it says to us that here we go again, here we go again, here we go again. So I don't. I need more from them. I would like to hear more and a better explanation of what is going on. But right now, it's a full disappointment with the Ministry of Sports in general.
Well, I'm not sure if we should involve the Ministry of Sports. I know how, but most of these sporting disciplines, they have associations. Yes, I could understand to some extent the Ministry of Sports being involved, but I think it's squarely on the associations as it regards preparation of teams, etc. Now, if you need assistance, you probably can go to my thing is that if you have exhausted, probably the Ministry of Sports, the Olympic Committee, and I say Olympic Committee because netball is not an Olympic sport. However, you will hear from immediate past President Glennis Roberts how she used the opportunity in the past to reach out to various stakeholders, including the Grenada Olympic Committee, including the Ministry of Sports, including the business sector, including her own fundraising activities, to ensure that the girls participate. But bear in mind, she was chastised by some of those who are now charading as executive members for her. They used to use the phrase, all Glennis wants to do is travel, travel, travel.
Yep.
But as Glennis will explain, yes, she wants to travel, but she wants to travel with those young girls. She wants to give them an opportunity to see just outside of them. They have never traveled before. And to get an opportunity to see that netball can bring you outside there. I mean, come on, as they would say. Who wouldn't want to travel? I think anyone would want to travel. Whether you want to travel as a sportsman, as an administrator, as a tourist, to visit family, to visit friends, whatever. I think everyone would want to travel. So it was
it's also opportunity too, because we're missing out on just not going there. We miss out on so many opportunities. For example, look at Barbados. They are not a part of it, but they are invited in. We can be invited too. We can be invited when nations see the best team in the OECS. They say, well, let us play an invitation with them. England can call a team, Australia can call them, and they can actually fund them. So when you have to put yourself out there.
Right. Well, in fact, I'm glad you say that, because that is what happened when Grenada was invited to Wales and other places. And not only that, it helps in the rankings. Now, Barbados has been invited. Barbados is truly smart enough. I mean, not that it will help them too much in their rankings, because they are highly rated. They're rated over the teams that are participating. Now, it helps you in your ranking when you play against teams that are highly ranked. Now, in the case of St. Vincent and others, playing against Barbados will help them in their rankings, especially if they can win, if they can have a good competitive game, etc. So what had happened to Grenada during that period was that it went into the top 20 at one point in time. I think was, top 23, I should say, because around there. Because it was playing netball, it was participating, it was playing against teams that was highly ranked, and all these sort of things were happening. It was not a situation of we do not have the money, so we just cannot participate. We will find the money. We will go over there and find the money. So while you're there, let me bring in one of those things there from Sister Glennis Roberts.
Fundraising has been a very crucial, factor in terms of Grenada's participation in these tournaments. And that's where I think Sister Glennis Roberts had been able to excel in terms of fundraising, and probably to an extent excel to the point where it probably also cost you the presidency, because you have been accused of doing things on your own at times, even though if you don't do it, then no one does it. Okay, but let's look at the issue of fundraising, because I know many times you get the girls, sometimes the players themselves involved in fundraising activities, whether it was started with the car wash and a lot of things, the fry, the bakes and the fish and chicken and all these things. Whenever tournament being played, whenever there's a sporting event, even at the stadium, for example, ensuring that there is some sort of fundraising activities to to raise funds for the girls to participate in these regional international tournaments.
Yes, and I have to give credit too for when we did the stadium to Minister Emlyn Pay. I remember when the stadium was reopened, she actually gave us the booth, so that we were able to do Carifta games, intercall, different things where the girls would go through the crowd with popcorn and stuff. Some people would say, oh, I'm not buying popcorn because all Glennis want to do is travel. But I want to stick a pin here, Bascom. I actually worked with the European Union, which is a foreign mission, for 22 years. The head office was in Belgium. So that alone.
And the regional office in Barbados.
And the regional office in Barbados. So I just want to stop here just to say that. And just to clear the myth that who would not want to travel? Who is a Christian and believe that the Lord made a beautiful world and you would not want to travel? But guess what? I didn't want to travel alone. I wanted to show fellow young people like myself who got an opportunity to fly, to show them through their talent how far they can get. I always say to people who try to understand the sport when I do my fundraising, that the children that plays netball are poor people children like me, who on their own may not have been able to make a trip. So I try to say to people, fundraising for me, as a convent girl, we were always taught to work hard for whatever you need, and work not only and not seek by only asking people, but you yourself showing that you can be a part. I never felt because I was a government minister it was too hard for me to stand up behind the netball counter to sell. Some people never wanted to help because they figure, okay, if we're raising funds to travel, why the girls are not there at night to sell? But for me, I found that if we want the girls to represent Grenada and excel, they have to train rigorously. They can be eased up of something like selling in the night because sometimes they play for their teams and they don't all live. We don't have a house for all of them to stay in, so they all have to commute at night. Sometimes we raised funds for them to help them with their bus fare, because the ministry thankfully always gave us the buses to take them home at night. But when they come into training, they all had to pay. Some of them had to spend like $15 to come down to town, taking bus to come down to training. I wished at the time that we could have given them supper or, things like that. But what we tried to do was to have camps, and in those camps, we would get other netballers like Gloria Payne Banfield, Michelle Hercules to come and give talks on, the way they should carry themselves and all of that. And in fundraising, Bascom, I say to them all the time, in Grenada, our fee structures as subscription to the association by clubs, and we have 15 maximum team clubs, is $25 a year. $25 a year, do the math, we cannot do much. Hence the reason why we have a constitution that we need to review and hopefully change the fee structures so that our membership can take ownership of the sport. We are not as lucky as football, who have FIFA. Yes, we have the International Netball Federation. However, they do not give us subvention like FIFA or even the Olympic Association, how they get from the Olympic IOC.
Yes. So, Rudian, as you heard it there from that Sister Gladys Roberts, talking about, that whole issue regarding fundraising and all these sort of issues. I know she mentioned supper, which is so much English, the British. I was just laughing at that part. But no, but it's a serious thing regarding, the whole
No,
issue of fundraising.
and it's most definitely is because netball is not, you know, in advance when is the biggest tournament. It's not something that pop up out of the blue. So you have more than enough time to fundraise. You have more than enough time to sit down and budget. Okay, so we need to be in Dominica next year. This meeting should have been done since in June or July for the following year. I know we understand the COVID stuff, but they could have the Zoom, they could have the meeting because you have to prepare yourself. Right now, as we are preparing for high school track and field championship out here, we don't know if we're going to have it. But if we don't prepare ourselves in advance and find our sponsors and figure it what we're going to do and find the people, the officials. Now, when the time comes and they say we're going to have it, we're going to be in trouble. Which is exactly what happened here now. So everybody now have to understand that you have to be able to put things in place. You have to be able to plan your stuff out. And netball, like I said, is a sport that you know way in advance when there is a meet. So if they give more than enough time for them to fundraise, more than enough time for them to find sponsors, more than enough time for them to find support, to go anywhere and play, and especially in the OECS to defend their championship. To defend the championship. So the excuse or the article that they put out is poor, in my opinion, because there is not much details in it to break down to say, okay, I understand. There is not enough details in it to say, okay, I understand where they're coming from, and then moving forward, this is what I think they should do. No, there is no details in it. It's all saying it's money, and then COVID. But that's what it is. But before the money come, you need to have a plan. So they decide to have this meeting 2 weeks ago and then put this out. So what I'm getting now is that they came together in a very short time and decide they cannot do it, and they never prepare the girls, so they're probably not fit, they're probably not ready to go, and that's the reason. But yet they're not saying that. That's my take on that.
All right.
And it's a big failure, and it's a big failure. It's a big failure. It is a big failure. And sometimes, again, sometimes we speak as the outsiders, and people might say what they say. I believe sometimes the wrong people is in the position. Mm-hmm. I believe the wrong people are in the positions.
Yeah. Well, for me, the losers there are the netballers. Okay, that's my concern. There, the losers are the netballers, and I believe that it has to do a lot with the administrators, and because you cannot tell me that it's only this month you aware of the tournament or whatever. That to me is shocking, and apologizing for the late circulation. And I mean, I don't want to talk too much about that, but just looking forward, how we can assist the development of the sport, how we can assist those netballers. We'll come back and talk a little bit about that, because I want to bring on our dear friend who is live in Dhaka, in Bangladesh. Let me see. Yes, let me see. Oh yes, I'm trying to get our video up. Andre Fletcher should be joining us momentarily from Dhaka in Bangladesh. Yeah, where he will talk a bit. As soon as we get him up, we will let you know. Okay, so yeah, right. So we want to hear, because Andre 101 not out, and he came up against some. He came up, by the way. He came up against some good spinners. Moeen Ali from England. There was some good spinners, I should say. But interestingly enough, just a few days ago, they lost by a few to that same team. But it was a
Yeah,
very
the same thing.
crucial.
Yes.
It was a very crucial
Yeah.
game today, and into at least qualifying. So we'll join Andrew shortly. But getting back to that issue, it's so sad that our girls are the ones who will be feeling that pressure. Let me
Yeah.
see. Toro is saying Grenada is not an easy place. If there's not a good reason to divide of ourselves, we create one. Green versus yellow, tongue and country, and getting vexed about who traveling and not traveling. I think I'll go invite Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II to come back and run the place. Alana is saying there's absolutely no excuse as to why the team could not go defend the title. Everyone wants to say that COVID is the problem. Not planning is where is the problem. You cannot have success if there is no plan. The people who is at the head of this debacle needs to take a good look at themselves, and they will see where the problem is. The problem lies. Sorry. As Alana is saying, and I tend to agree with that. Not planning is where the problem is. Not planning.
But and that's the key thing that I was saying. You have to have a plan first before you think of finances. And something that I've learned by reaching out to many people in Grenada about certain things, the first thing they talk about is the money. You need to have a plan. You need to put things down on paper.
Mhm.
Have a plan first, then think of the finances. And then you figure out how can we get it. And you don't have to wait a month before. Then you're going to create problem. Because a tournament like that, unless the OECS decided to have the games and give them short notice. And unless that, then forgive me if I am out of place and in that case, forgive me. But the chances in the OECS saying, okay, it's a short notice that we're going to have the games, so you got to figure it out. And that's unlikely. I think they knew in advance, but they just was sitting on the bum and they can never get anything done. Have a plan. When you sit down with you executives, have a plan, have a budget, and break things down. How are we going to get this money? You need $100,000. How are we going to get it? What do we have right now? What do we need to get? How do we need to get the girls there? Then, is the girls ready to play? Would they be ready to play? So there's a lot of things that have to break down. So unless it's the OECS put these games on last minute, then I understand. If not, then unfortunately, it's a big failure to our Netball Association, and something should. And those who are in the position is not capable of running it, then they should step down.
Yeah, but in all of this, you should be preparing. You're the defending champions. Every year there is a tournament, and you should be preparing for such tournament. And
I go back to Kirani. You interview him, and he made a statement, and he said when everything shut down and they couldn't go nowhere, he said I couldn't sit down.
Mhm.
I had to go find a place and just run, stay active, stay in shape. Which almost 95% of athletes, professional or amateur athletes, was doing something.
Yeah, because
they was going to they were doing something.
Some of them were using the rooms. They said they had removed the furniture and used the room as their place to warm up and do all sort of things.
Yeah.
Let me see. I think we may have made contact with still
not
Dhaka.
there.
What is happening with you, Dhaka? Somehow we're not getting the video from Dhaka. It's coming on. And then, okay, let me see now. Let me see if we have Dhaka. Yes, we do have Dhaka on the line.
Yes.
Well, Andrew Fletcher, I was about to find out from Dhaka in Bangladesh what is happening. I mean, I know, you as they say, you pelted some blade today, so I thought they were getting upset and wanted to sabotage our connection. But good. Well, it's evening in your neck of the woods. Good evening to you, Andrew Fletcher.
Yeah. Good evening, Michael. Good evening, everyone.
Right, and I have my friend from Toronto, Rudian, also on the line. Rudian is a St. Patrick guy, so he hangs with me during the program. Let's talk about that swashbuckling innings, 101 not out. And as I was indicating just a few days ago, you all fell the wrath from the same team that had the likes of Narayan and Moin Ali and others, good quality spinners. But today was no joke. And what was really happening? I mean, 100 and what, 83, I think you all were chasing. And you went in there and it was, it was seriousness from the start, Andre.
Well, yeah, honestly, it was a game where I would say we were under a lot of pressure. One, we actually had this team as one of the best team in the tournament. Knowing that they beat us really bad the previous game, and this game was a do or die situation. If we lost, then we actually out of the tournament. So it was a must win. And they batting first, knowing the previous game they scored 189, and now seeing that they score 182. Honestly, it was it was a bit on my mind, to be honest. And I decided to go out there and be myself, play as positive as I can. And as you know, where I stand with Christ, I remember before I went out to bat, I went into the washroom and I was just speaking to the Lord and saying, Lord, the players need me. They need me to come big, but I need you, and I'm so happy and grateful that I did well and I actually brought the team home.
Well, I was telling you that it appears that the team really needs you because when you don't score, um, somehow the team the team doesn't perform, and when you do, that is when, like the last game, not a big score from Andre, and it's like it's always dependent on Andre to set the pace, to set the standard, to do everything for the team. The only thing you're not doing is probably bowling. So going out there with that 180 something and knowing that you have to chase that. What again? Were you intimidated too, knowing that? I mean, you're coming up against some quality bowlers.
No, to be honest, as I said, I just wanted to be myself, and the other batter, I was just telling him that Narayan, who we all know is one of the best spinner. I was just telling him that let us not take too many chances.
Oh, Andre, just hold on. I'm hearing some music coming up on your yeah, I think it may be on your device. Right. I think I have you now.
Yeah.
Are you there? Yeah. So as you were saying, you were telling the batter.
As I said, and I know we had to try our best to bat as deep as possible, and I wanted to bat as deep as possible, knowing that the last 2 to 3 games I didn't get any runs, I would say. So it was a little bit of pressure, but I tried not to let it get to me, and I'm happy to be on the win.
Yeah. Some days ago, when we were chatting, we were looking at the where you stand in terms of the runs, in terms of accumulation of runs, and now I think you know what you know second or so.
Honestly, I haven't looked at the
we need to update that. We need to update that because I believe you may be either second or head in the runs now because with that 101, it appears you might be there. And then going into the qualifying um, segment, there's a possibility that you could end the tournament as a leading run scorer.
Yeah, well, honestly, that's my aim, and once I can get that, I have to be in the finals. We have to be in the finals. The good thing about it, the team that we play in the semis, um, is that the team that we beat already, and we know the players, so we just have to go there and perform. It's all about execution. We try our best not to be complacent, and once we do the basics well, for sure we should be able to.
are you in a frame of mind that, and there's a second sense in the back of your head that you may be called up to join the West Indies team for the T20 tournament? I mean, is that a
Well,
possibility?
I know they picked the India series team already. To be honest, Mikey, I just playing cricket. I try to enjoy it as much as possible. Um, unfortunately, that I have selected for the Pakistan and India series, the England series, but I can't study that. I just have to continue to do my best, continue to try my best to perform as much as possible. And I know one day I for sure I will get back. And once I get back, just try my best to see if I can perform for the West Indies and the people.
Hmm. And I'm certain that you're still committed to not to Grenada and Windward Islands cricket as well.
Yeah, for sure. I can't give up where I started. Um, the thing is, I was supposed to be playing in the podcast season this year, and then I got a phone call that Kulna Tigers actually want to compete. So I've been talking with the president doing it, and the guys they are happy that once I am able to that and until maybe God says that's enough, then I will give it up. For now, my focus is still with Grenada and Windward Islands and try my best to you know give the guys the best advice that I can give, whatsoever input I have, the knowledge that I have, and share it with the guys and hope that not only Grenada but and West Indies can move forward.
Mhm. All right, then. Well, I want to wish you all the best, Andre. We'll be following your exploits over there in Bangladesh. I know that the frame of mind now is preparing for that elimination and hopefully into the final. Um, and I want to wish you all the best.
There are times like well, we have two eliminators. Once we win our first one, we have to play the team that lost their first game, which is first and second. So, you could say we actually have three finals. I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to it and trying to see if I can get some after it's well 10 to 12 now. Then I'll go on with some rest.
Right. Okay, then. Thank you very much, Andre. All the best. Thanks very much.
All right, then take care.
Okay,
God bless.
okay then. Thank you. Folks, therefore, Andre Fletcher, live from Dhaka in Bangladesh. And
Bangladesh.
yeah, where he no doubt given us an update. And Andre has been doing well, as you will see, Rudian, that Andre is committed to the cause of cricket, even at his age, very competitive.
Yep.
And it seems as if he
Yep.
takes the training, he takes the game serious. He has no intention of retiring now, as he says. Um, and until such time, he'll be doing what he has to do. He's not
Yeah.
daunted by the fact that he's not on the West Indies team, but he's always ready
But
and prepared
but I
for if
still
there's a
think
call up.
I still think he's playing with a chip on his shoulder to and I also believe that he plays well under pressure. You know, um, so I mean he just he just keep proving himself, but he don't have to prove himself because he's as good, and he have to know that. I think
Yeah.
once he know that,
Mhm.
the best will come out of him.
Right.
You need to start proving to people, and I think the best will come from him. So I think once he know that, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On an issue of let's just leave cricket. We may probably just come back and touch cricket for a while. But Justin Gatlin's retirement, are you surprised or were you caught off guard when you heard about Justin Gatlin calling it a day?
I wasn't surprised um, because I know his time will come. But the sport itself is missing a very good competitive athlete um, that make a difference for track and field over the past what 15 how much years he's been doing this. So yeah, it's has been a good run for him, and he's also one of my favorite athletes. So in spite of his the downfall by testing positive, but he make a difference in the sport, and makes people better when he's in the sport. I believe
What,
he
Mhm.
go
I was
ahead.
asking
Yeah.
you what you thought he brought to athletics. For some people, he brought this level of competitiveness to track and field, um, along with the likes of Usain Bolt, of course. Bolt says that he paid tribute to Gatlin even while he was competing.
Yeah.
That Gatlin brought that. You believe that was the case?
He to me he brought the hard work and the never give up attitude to the sport. And a lot of athletes today, especially young athletes, it's winning for them every time. And when they don't win, they just decide to quit. And I think he bring that I am going to work hard. I'm going to keep working hard. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. So I think he bring that to the sport. That makes a difference to those who actually follow him and those who see that. And those who don't see it, they will just take something else out of it. But that's what he bring to me. I always love watching him run. I never thought he could have beat Bolt. I still don't think he could. Um, if Bolt is fully healthy, and but he believed he could. He believed he could, and I like that attitude from him. When they believe they can do something, they go after it, in spite of what. And that's what I like about the Americans. They believe, and they have that thing. I believe I can win. So if you believe you can win, then go win, and that's what I like about them. They don't just quit. They don't give up. They just keep pushing, and they make other people better. Like I said, if the Olympics don't have the Americans in it, it's like no Olympics at all. So yeah. But I mean, he has done great things. He's the and I research him, and I always do, and I make sure that I get everything correctly. Um, he have the fifth fastest 100-meter time, um, and the sixth fastest 200-meter time. You know, um, so he's done great things. He's done great things for the sport, and the sport will miss him, but I think he's going to do a lot of coaching. He'll still be around. He's not going to leave the sport, especially in this time of his age when he's living now at the age of 40. Um, I think he's going to be coaching around a lot. I think
Yeah.
he's going to make some really good athletes really good. I am fearful for a lot of coaches who coming in, who is fresh off the track. I'm fearful that they're going to want to coach a lot of these kids the way they were coached. Um, and if you do that, it's a disaster because the things that you can do, another athlete may not be able to do it. The attitude you have towards the sport, other athletes don't have the same thing. So you could, it could be a plus or a negative, but it's directing to the negative side that if you come in with that attitude, you're going to chase athletes away and bringing them into the sport.
Mhm. One of the things that he really had going for him was his starts. He had,
Yes.
a brilliant start. And then he also has, I think he's very disciplined when it comes to training. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
I
Very.
spoke to his,
Yeah.
I remember speaking to his manager some time ago, and one of the things that they spoke about when it comes to training, that is where Justin is a beast, and you can see it in his physique, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He is very serious when it comes. But
No, no, definitely. Aaron Brown came on from under our program from high school, and then and he's still actually part of my track and field club. When he's home competing at the Canadian Championship, he runs under my track and field club, and that's his training partner. So they train under the same. He's in the same camp with them, and he talks a lot of good things about him. And he always say that how just to makes him better, you know. Being there and teaching him the ropes and teaching him the things that he's missing. So that's a good thing. So that's a really good thing. So there's nothing negative about Justin. There's always a positive. So like I said, the only thing is the ban for the doping. But he only but that was about it. And then he came back on the scene. He did what he had to do, and yeah, and he's calling it quits now. Yeah.
Let me see what your Canadian colleague is saying. And the Americans know when they cheat or run into any kind of trouble, the government and associations will back them. Rudian, we have to start a petition for Carl Lewis to return Ben Johnson's sole Olympic gold medal. But talking about that, Rudian, I know it's not a good thing to mention to you and to Toro, but if you are looking at the Winter Olympics last night, not some good results for the Canadians in hockey. The men.
No, we took a beating. They took a beating from the United States, like a beating.
The US men won 4-2 in men's hockey.
Yeah.
And not so much of a good result for a hockey craze public as Canada. I know the headlines.
Canada, yeah.
The headlines may not be kind. The headlines this morning may not be kind to Canada's hockey. Because that was a beating by the Americans.
Yeah.
And certainly, I know
it was truly a beatdown, and it's a rivalry. The usual rivalry. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The usual rivalry among, and it's one that I believe that they really look forward to in those sort of events. The matchup between the USA and Canada in hockey, whether it's men's, whether it's women's, that hockey rivalry is something that they always look up to.
Because even in that
I can't forget hockey for now. We put in our energy into soccer. Canada, the next FIFA World Cup champ. I thought Canada was putting energy into cricket.
They put a beating on them too in soccer, and the thing that I noticed when it comes to Canada and the US, whenever those two teams play, the country comes out. If it's women, if it's men, if in soccer, hockey, the country comes out, junior, senior, whichever it is. The Americans come out, the Canadian come out, and they have a good time. So that's bring the sport excitement, and so that's a really good feeling. And I like that, to see the two countries coming together and just having, and they don't have, it's only a rival. It's not like a beef. No, I see you, I don't talking to you. No. It's just a rival. After the game, they hug, they laugh, they they exchange jerseys and those kind of things. But prior to that, they just a rival. It's a really good rival. I think it's maybe one of the biggest rival out there in sports. Yeah.
Well, just as how we started, I want us to end, because it's no rival that you all continue to block our bridges, or your truckers continue to block our bridges. That's no rivalry, guys. We want our bridges open.
I listen to them. Yeah, I listen to them, and I don't get why. I understand they don't want to be vaccinated. I get that, but when they speak about you taking away our freedom, I was like, you live in Canada. You're not in North Korea. You're not in some of those countries where you can't do certain things. You're in Canada. That's not freedom losing. In some countries, you cannot protest. You cannot.
Yeah.
So I just think that, yeah.
And you're correct, because this has been going on for some weeks. Now, in some countries, that may not last for an hour. That may not last for an hour.
Yeah, it would not.
You do not dare do it. Yeah. And if you try to do it, it may not last for that long. So I agree about taking away freedom. But then what's about the private
they went to, there was, but I have a different, feelings towards I understand where they're coming from. I have two things with them. They don't want to be vaccinated. They don't want to wear the mask. They don't want They don't want to social distance. You cannot do all three.
Mhm.
You cannot. You have to do. If I'm not vaccinated, I'm going to wear my mask or I'm going to be social distance. They don't want to do a thing, and the minute they get sick, is in the hospital they're going to. Stay home.
Mhm.
If you don't want to do, we had it last week where they were blocking. Because in one area we have about 5 hospitals, sick kids hospitals, and then we have other hospitals in the area. They were blocking people to go to work. But when they're sick in the same hospital, they had to go to. They went to the capital, and with the truckers went to the capital and they honking their horn and disturbing people to sleep. They're going on secret graves and they urinating on secret graves and they doing all this stuff on and literally secret military grave. And for what? How can the government listen to you now? How? And it may not be the workers, it may not be the truck drivers, it might just be outside people want to be a part of it and decide let us, cause up some problems. And it could be some of them. They disrespecting people in restaurants. It's just a lot of things that they're doing, and you expect them to want to have a conversation. And that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen, So
Toro says that
yeah.
the truckers' insurrection only lasting this long because it's a bunch of white people. If these were indigenous or black
Oh yeah,
insurrectionists,
it's
the
so true.
RCMP, which is the
MP,
Royal
yeah.
Canadian Mounted Police,
Canadian Mountain Police, yeah. The bad
would have
boys.
dismantled the protests and arrested and charged any number of people. And my only thing is how it's been allowed to continue when it's affecting innocent people, people who are not, nowhere not
People.
connected.
Yeah.
They want to go about their daily life. They want to do what they are accustomed doing. They want to go to work, and it has an effect. Just to wrap up, Toro again is saying the Canadian cricket team is ready to take on West Indies, who just get beat up again by India. Bas, let's organize a Canada West Indies series. How much you are willing to bet Canada wins in a 5-match series? Toro, no problem. The only problem,
Serious.
is that Canadian team will have too many Indians and Pakistanis and Sri Lankans on that team. I bet you. I bet you on
Definitely.
that. So
Yeah.
may be correct.
And it's so funny because I was watching the women's game and the American team in the women's game. A whole lot, almost the whole team is probably Indian and Pakistanis. And nothing wrong with that. There might be a one or two English in there, but they take the sport serious because that's what they have. No, India don't really have the soccer. They have a javelin guy, and I know they have a sprinter or a 400-meter girl as well. They don't have that other sports like other countries have. So they put all and everything they have into cricket. That's why they could have the academies and have all those things because that's what they have. It'll be nice to see us having that, have a sport that we can put everything into. You see it happening here in Canada. Everything is going into hockey. Now soccer is stepping up, but everything going to hockey, everything going to soccer, everything else take a backseat. Everything else take a backseat. So when a country has that, then they have to put everything into it. And that would make them great. That would make them known. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
the USA is nothing different from Canada because even the USA team
Yeah.
at the Winter Olympics, there are a lot of Asian, I should say. They are Chinese,
Asian, yeah. Chinese American,
Japanese,
yeah.
Americans that
American,
are
yeah.
actually in
Yeah. In the
that team.
sport.
They dominate a lot. So there's nothing different, but
And
certainly.
I get the funding aspect about it, but I also believe the funding come based on performance.
Well, I
And
see.
you look at America in every sport, America put funding in all the sports. That's why they're always a big competitor when you get to any games because they put the time and the effort in them because of results. So that's a big thing too. If there is no results, I can't put money into you if there is no results. I can't put
Yeah,
time into you if there is no results. So
yeah,
that is also a big thing too. They have to see results, but they also have to get the opportunity to get results. So if you
yeah.
don't
Well,
have that, then there is none like that. Yeah.
well, Sawyer, good afternoon to you. Another Canadian in the house. He says it's all about the funds to do it. Yeah, and that's the thing about North American sports, okay? Funded, fully funded. In fact, I was listening to an interview where they actually trying to start a professional women's hockey league, and they basically, on their way, I should say. It's just a matter of funds. They have some big sponsors line up, and sooner or later we'll get and we start hearing about a professional, okay, women's hockey league in North America. Again, it has to do with funds. A lot has to do with funds.
Yeah, funds, yeah.
And that's where I think the disadvantage lies when it comes to the Caribbean, especially the Eastern Caribbean. And it also, Rudy, and you will know that from when you were in Grenada, everyone goes to the same sponsors. So let's look, for example, just call in a random sponsor, Coats.
Yeah.
Just
Coats. Or
a bank or whatever. And I'm
certain.
I'm certain. Well, let's say Carib. I am certain when it comes to probably Carnival, for example. Every band probably wants to go to Carib. Every, whatever it is, wants to go to Carib or to Guinness, and things like that. So everyone goes to probably the same sponsor, and I think sometimes that's what happens in terms of we are so limited in terms of sponsors and corporate sponsors and things like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
but two things before we end the program. We had a conversation prior to in terms of sponsor. We see some of this big event in the Caribbean, like Champs, and we try to figure out why they don't have a major sponsor like a Nike, a Puma, and Adidas. We ask the same thing concerning a lot of these other big games that hosting in the Caribbean. Why we don't have some of those big sponsors? And I don't have a reason for that. I don't know why. Maybe they did approach them, maybe because of location. There's a lot of things, but we had a conversation and we talk about there's ways of how you approach certain things, what they can get, what they cannot get, what they can do. There's so much little thing that probably in it. Our high school meet out here has Nike as our major sponsor. But when Nike come in and put into the sport, they also get it back by having t-shirts and hats and jackets. And those things, they're making back a lot. But I think it's nice to see the Caribbean now have major sponsor from the sporting figures out there, like the Nike, the Puma, the Adidas, the Champs, compared to other smaller, like the Carib. I'm going to Carib or going to Digicel, and those. Digicel is big, don't get me wrong, but we could see in terms of a sporting thing, it'll be really nice to see our intercall. It's not always, we could have Scotiabank as a secondary sponsor, but having a big like a Puma, because Puma is our major sponsor for track and field. It would be nice to see them sponsor sport. It would be nice to see that, and we got to put people in position. I could reach out there and reach out to these people and figure how can you guys sponsor it, and what benefit can be in it for you, and what they can get from it, or what we can get from it. And I think that should be something I would really like to see more happening in the sport, because those companies have the money to help. They have the money to help, but it's all about how we reach out and who we have in position to do that.
Yeah, well, probably a nice thing for us to talk about in the future in terms of
In
marketing.
the future,
how we can market our sports, whole aspect of marketing sports, and in return, certainly, I know companies will look for their returns as well. I want to thank you as well for being.
And one more thing, I said, I wanted to thank Conrad on his new position. I really hope that at track and field, Athletics Grenada can be better. I'm hopeful, but I really hope that his position, being in there for so many years, now he's in a better position, that track and field Grenada or Athletics Grenada can be better on the world stage or on the Caribbean stage. And I would really like to see that. But I want to congratulate him. I am hopeful. I have my my views about what I've seen in the past. Um, and I hope that the future for Grenada could be better and not the same when it comes to athletics. But I'm really happy Conrad get the position. Um, there's a lot more to say, but I have to give congratulations to him because he's on the ham. However, I really hope and pray that it will be better than it has been for the past 40 plus years I'm alive, hoping that it can be better.
Yeah, well, I always congratulate people who make themselves available for leadership positions. Now,
Yeah,
what is in that is your results, your performance. So we can congratulate people as much as
yeah,
we want. That is one, but also it's not a situation where yes, Conrad is president and we look forward to his leadership, etc. But it must also be viewed as a team effort because it's a team, it's
yeah.
an executive. So,
It's a team. It's an executive.
as much as
Yeah,
Conrad being the president, his performance, his strength will rely on the team that is around him, whether they buy into the vision,
that is
whether
around him. Yeah,
and so, these sort of things. And that is the other aspect of
yeah,
it that we have to look
yeah.
at. But I saw that comment there from Roger Duncan, which I want to end on, which says it's been nice to see Grenada develop a 400 meters brand where the best of the world's 400-meter runners are manufactured. We have been noted for highly competitive 400-meter runners for 5 decades now. That's a good event for Grenada to specialize in. Well, not a bad idea, Roger, just as how Jamaica considers itself to be the sprint factory of the world. Why not Grenada being a good place where we can probably see in young 400 meters runners coming into Grenada to train under our coaches, etc., all these sort of things. That could be something that we can look forward to. What a nice way to end.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Toro, Roger, Sawyer, and Alana, and all those who have been part of our program today. I want to thank you. Also, our good friend in Dhaka, Bangladesh, is Andre Fletcher. If you missed it,
Mr.
Andre was on
Fletcher.
our program earlier, and no doubt his 101 knockout for his team, giving his team victory over the opponent Comets by 9 wickets. Thank you very much again, Rudian. I want to wish you all the best for the weekend and look forward to chat with you
Thank you.
some other
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you again. Okay
Yes.
then?
All right. Thanks again. Have a good day. And those
You're
listeners,
welcome.
have a good
Yeah.
weekend.
Uh,
All
okay
right.
then. Thank you. All right. So there you had it, folks. That's a good friend, Rudian Silva, in Toronto, Canada, as per usual. And as you heard earlier in our program, we had the issue with the Grenada Netball Association not participating or defending its title in the OECS, the ECCB OECS Netball Tournament. There was a statement issued. We read the statement and we discussed that. We had also a piece from Glennis Roberts on a previously recorded program talking about the whole issue of fundraising. Basically, hitting it in the face that fundraising should not be a problem. It is a challenge, but like any other association, funds are, are scarce. Okay, the financial resources of clubs or associations, sporting associations are scarce. So it's an excuse, and a bad excuse rather, to use that to determine whether or not you participate. You have so much, you know, information available, in advance that you can decide to what extent are you participating, and we look at that sometimes as denying the opportunity of these girls who have been probably training and using COVID as an excuse all the time. I don't think it's passing the test. Okay, COVID will be around with us. We have to get accustomed to COVID. And if we continue to use COVID as an excuse, then probably for the next 3-4 years, we may not be doing anything, may not be participating in any sporting events, nothing will be happening because every year we'll be just hearing because of COVID, because of this, because of that. Hey, COVID is here to stay. It's not going. It's not going. They keep saying that. The doctors, the scientists keep saying COVID here to stay. We have to start looking at how we coexist with COVID-19. Thank you very much, folks, for being part of the program. I want to wish you all the best. Have a pleasant weekend. It's a sporting weekend. There's indoor track and field. Our college athletes are participating. There's Premier League football. There's Winter Olympics. So much happening. Please see how you can, be part of the process. Whether it's on social media, whether it's on TV, and see if there's any reason for you to support our local athletes, okay? Particularly our local athletes. They need your support. And I think sometimes, we only wait until there's something big to congratulate our sportsmen and sportswomen. There's all the reason why you cannot show them the support, show them the encouragement, even while or before they participate, putting up something on social media, wishing the best to all our sportsmen and women who are competing this weekend. A blanket statement that will incorporate everything. We want to wish you the best. We are supporting you wherever you participate in, etc., etc. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Thank you also, as I said, those who always be part of it. And the hope is that probably our next open discussion will be talking about, hopefully, I'm saying it could be before, but we want to discuss the whole issue of sponsorship of local sports. And we try to get probably a panel so we can really discuss that, the whole issue of sponsorship of local sports. Or sports, whether it's Grenada or anywhere in the OECS, because, probably Trinidad and Barbados and Jamaica, they have the big sponsors and the big brands already embedded in those countries, so it's easy for them. But small countries like Grenada and St. Vincent, St. Lucia, etc., how can they maximize on sponsorship? We'll probably see how we can discuss that. Thank you very much once again. Enjoy the weekend.